so the first thing you're gonna wanna do when you're getting ready to lay out your pattern is you're gonna want to wear some comfortable clothes that you can move around easily in. And you're gonna wanna fold your fabric right sides together according to your pattern guide sheet. My pattern guide sheet tells me that I need a lengthwise fold. So I'm gonna match up my selvages all the way down, and I'm gonna lay my fabric out so that it looks like it does on my pattern guide sheet. The second thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna get your felt tip pen, and you're going to want to mark the pattern pieces that you need. So when you open up the tissue paper, you want to be gentle with it because it does tear easily. And you're going to locate the pattern pieces that the pattern guide sheet called for. You can reuse these multiple times, so I wouldn't throw away any pieces. I have located pants front 1, pants back 2. You're going to lay those out as well. The other pattern pieces can be folded up and put away. You're going to go around the entire pattern and you're going to mark the part that you're going to be cutting. So for example, I'm going to be marking for size medium all the way around. So right here, I see size medium is a big dash, and so I'm going to mark on that line. This just allows me something to look at when I'm cutting to make sure I don't mess up and cut the wrong thing. When you come to these things right here, these are called notches, and you want to use a color that's going to get your attention, and you're going to draw the other half of the notch. So when you cut this out, you're going to go out and around it like a big trapezoid. If it's a single notch, like this one, you're gonna cut out and away like a diamond. So you're gonna go around to the entire pattern and you're gonna mark your cutting lines. Notice since I'm making shorts, the shorts actually end right here. So I'm going to make sure that I draw the line for shorts. Cutting is important because you want to separate the pattern pieces from one another, but you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time cutting directly on the line because it doesn't really matter. All right, we're going to need our pattern guide sheet. Our pattern guide sheet tells us that we're going to be using a lengthwise fold, and we want to put piece 2 at the bottom and piece 1 up at the top, so the crotches are facing different directions. So crotches facing down on piece 1 and up on piece 2. I'm going to place piece 2, crotch side down, and piece 1, we're going to put crotch side up. I'm going to place them on here as close together as I can get them, even if they overlap a little bit. Pattern paper is very thin. So you can see, even though they overlap, none of my lines overlap, and they both fit. I can also place them up pretty close to the top of the selvage. Now that I've got my pattern pieces laid out according to my pattern guide sheet, I'm going to make sure that I get them on there straight with the grain. So I'm going to measure from the end of the grain line arrow up to the selvages, and I'm going to get a nice even number, and then I'm going to pin. So right now, my grain line arrow is on the 9-inch mark. So I'm going to pin this end of my grain line arrow at 9 inches. I'm going to go down to the other end of the arrow, and I'm going to measure again at the 9-inch mark. Once I get it on there even, I'm going to pin this end of the grain line arrow. And I'm going to do the same thing for piece 1. I'm going to measure from one end of the arrow up. Now it doesn't have to be 9 inches, it could be 9 1/4 inches, or it could be 10 inches. It really doesn't matter as long as they're the same. So I'm gonna pull this guy down to 10 inches. I'm gonna pin this end of that grain line arrow. Getting something on grain means that you're getting it on the fabric straight. If something is off grain, it's gonna hang crooked. And so I'm gonna make sure this is also on the 10 inch. There it is, perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and pin. Now, remember we talked about when you pin, hang 10? This is important for pinning. The first places you wanna pin are your corners. So you wanna go into the corner, you want to pin out at an angle. You don't want your pin to go over the line, the cutting line. I'm gonna smooth everything out. I'm gonna go to my other corner. I'm gonna pin out at an angle. After I've pinned all of my corners that way, I'm gonna go back and I'm going to pin my notches. So here's a notch. I'm going to pin out and over the edge. The only piece I want hanging over is I would like for my notches to hang over when I pin. And then I'm gonna pin every hang 10 after that. So every 4 to 6 inches, I'm gonna put a pin in. That's why I like to pin my corners and my notches first. So it helps out with knowing where else I need to pin at. So go ahead and go around and pin the whole thing. Once you've pinned everything, you're gonna go back and you're going to cut on your actual lines that you highlighted. I had to move this down a little bit because I used the corner of this fabric to make a mask, and so I had to slide my pattern down a little bit. Keeping your shears against the flat surface, you're gonna make long, smooth cuts on the black cutting line. And as you reach areas that are curved, you may have to go a little bit slower. Notice how I don't have to avoid any pins because I haven't pinned over the cutting line. The only time I pinned over the cutting line is like here when I come to a notch. The reason I pinned over the cutting line is to remind me when I get to a notch that I need to stop, go out and away, and then back in and toward. So I want to make sure that I'm cutting out and away to save that little notch. You also need to be able to kind of get down on the floor and move around. If you have a cutting table at your house or a tall countertop, that's the best place to cut stuff out at. But you want to make sure that you're just using long, smooth strokes, and that if you haven't pinned enough and things are sliding all over the place, that you stop and repin everything. Once you finish cutting everything out, before you unpin your patterns, you want to transfer any markings that you see. Since we studied pattern markings, you should know and recognize that this is a buttonhole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpin one of my pins, and I'm going to unpin another one of my pins, and I'm going to stick those through. And then I'm going to pull my pattern out of the way, and I'm going to transfer the ends of that marking right here. So that's my buttonhole. I'm going to flip this over, and where the pins come out at, I'm going to also draw my buttonhole. So I've got a buttonhole right here. And then I want to transfer these two dots as well. So you're going to take your pin, stick it through the dot, and then make your dot on both sides. You have to do each pattern piece. You don't want to just do one. And then you want to do it on the other one as well. I'm going to stick it through again. Make my dot, and pull it back through. That's going to show me where I need to leave this open at for my elastic and where I need to put my buttonhole if I'm going to be putting in twill tape or ribbon. I don't think there are any other markings that I need to transfer on either of the pieces. Notice when I cut my notches out, if there were multiple notches, I cut them like one big long bar. If they were single notches, I cut them out like a diamond. This is a little flag to show me where to match my pattern pieces up. So in our next video, we're actually going to be sewing these together and making them into pants. I can't wait.